There has been a conflict about gun rights in America for well too long.
What should we do? What needs to change?
Our country has a technique in solving things. In a sense, it's almost like they solve things with what happened. It's like if someone commits murders, we solve it by killing him. If we have terrorism acted on us, we solve it by a different form of terrorism upon whoever did it to us. And that's not the solution. I don't believe an eye for an eye is the way this country was built, and I feel like that's the way we're heading towards. So I believe we need to start practicing more nonviolent solutions, which would be putting our guns down in a sense. And it's funny because with inner city crime and what happens in cities like Chicago and Cleveland and Baltimore and all these cities in East and Mid America, they try to get these people to put their guns down in the inner city, and it's like you could literally be facing a charge in some of these cities, and if you bring the police officers guns, they'll lower your charges or lower your time. But on the other side of town, you're telling these people to get more guns to defend themselves, which doesn't really make sense, and it just shows our hypocrisy.
Right. And there are steps you can take. Like there was, after the Las Vegas shooting, there was the idea of banning bump stocks, which convert a semi-automatic gun into an automatic gun. And it was going well for a while, and then it met some pushback, and it died. There have been plans to push back against them. Ronald Reagan back in the 70s pushed for gun control, and then took office as president and started working the other way. The gun debate has become a non-starter in a lot of ways, where people will say, we need to talk about this. People say, no, it's not the right time to talk about this. Or people say, okay, now's the time we need to ban 30 round clips or something like that. And people will say you're infringing on our Second Amendment rights. When you're not willing to even debate the opening of negotiations, and you're just immediately saying this person's trying to infringe on your constitutional rights, or this person is a threat to your freedom, or this person's a threat to democracy, you killed the debate. There was a time when negotiation and compromise drove democracy. Now we're at a time when you have a majority of 60 people in Congress, or in the Senate, or nothing happens because debate won't happen anymore. It's people yell at each other and accuse each other of ruining America. If people came to the table and talked, maybe something would happen. Instead, they're on the opposite sides of the room yelling at each other, and no one's approaching the table.
And I understand that people have the right to bear arms, and I know that's a constitutional right in America, but I feel like just how things in the Constitution have changed and there's been parts added to stuff, I feel like it's a time that we might have to change that, because at the time that was made, we were fresh out of a Revolutionary War. People, it was post-colonization for America, and then in the 50s and 60s, I understand why people wanted to carry guns. 70s, 80s, we were like in a Cold War era, and we were paranoid of people invading us and all that, but let's be realistic, none of that's going to happen. And you look at other counterparts, people who are allies to America, like Sweden and the UK and all these other countries who don't have these issues. And I mean, yes, it's going to happen once in a blue moon, and we'll take that chance, but I think it's time for us to maybe make some changes, even with police officers carrying guns. And I know that sounds a little wild, but if you look at other countries in the world, it does work.
You see the first half of that Second Amendment too. It's a well-regulated militia being necessary for defense. You have the words well-regulated in there, but God forbid you put any regulations into account. People like the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. We're not saying you can't bear any arms. We're saying let's put some regulations in place. But no, that's a non-starter.
Due to the temperature of the country, due to the setup of the country, with one party right now running the country who actually has a bias towards gun control and gun violence, due to their alliance with the NRA, nothing will change unless people like us, people like you, speak up and take a stand on what's going on in our country.
It's really easy to get lost in the stories that we hear so often about gun violence and not connect the names and the faces that we see to the fact that these are real people dying, and it should be considered as an American health concern, as a public health issue. But we hear about it for a few days, we go on with the rest of our business, and then it comes up again. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims, nothing changes. We owe them more than our thoughts and our prayers. There are efforts in the international community to work on disarmament, and there are groups like IANSA, the International Action Network on Small Arms, which work to promote the UN Program of Action, which is trying to limit the illicit trade of small arms and light weapons. There are different groups. Every Town for Gun Safety works on tracking gun violence in America. There have been a lot of other nonprofits that try just to work on promoting a global good, the idea that maybe there are too many weapons in the world, and let's try to cut down on the illegal use and the illegal trade of firearms. And so IANSA and Every Town and a lot of the partner organizations of Nonviolence International are doing some really great work on disarmament. So there is some hope in the world, at least. But it's not looking great for America right now.